You know, it's the only state that Donald Trump trails in right now. that is Iowa, the caucus state. And he's making a point not to let that last too long, that these polls are short-lived. He's going to be in Council Bluffs, Iowa later tonight, trying to put a dent in what is anywhere from a 4 to 8 point lead that Ted Cruz enjoys in that state. But Donald Trump not just willing to cede that to him just yet. Mark Serrano says, well, the problem is dealing with the Iowa caucus process because it's not like a primary state. Mark, of course, the former deputy director of operations of the Bush-Quayle 92 race. It's a very good point, Mark. Explain the difference in a caucus state because it's really about endurance and longevity, isn't it?
It is, Neil. You know, this is local politics at its purest. 33 days from now, Monday, February 1st at 7 p.m., both the parties are going to be conducting 1,681 local party meetings that are called caucuses. These meetings are organized by party activists in schools, in church basements, in coffee shops, and living rooms. And they've got two responsibilities. One is they have to pick delegates that will go on to the county and state and national levels throughout the next year. The second and most important responsibility that we will all be waiting late that night to see the result of is the preference poll. The Democrats have a process that's a little more complicated in their caucuses where they have a viability standard or threshold that has to be met, and the Republicans are a little more informal. But ultimately, at thousands of meetings that night that start at the same time, in the same hour, they have to conduct a preference poll, and that's what's reported up to the state party for both parties late that night is which candidate will get the most. But, like you said, it takes months to build the organization. You have to have 99 county chairmen for your campaign. They have to have precinct chairmen to go into the precinct caucus meetings that night and persuade voters to vote in the preference poll for their candidate.
You know, I had no idea what you just said, but you're so brilliant. I am not going to counter it. Bottom line, I kid, but bottom line, it's a very involved process and one that will really test your supporters' endurance, right? Does Donald Trump have the ground troops and the infrastructure there that supposedly a Ted Cruz does?
Well, look, both of them are very well organized there. Trump shrewdly, earlier this year, picked a state director who won in 2012 for Rick Santorum. These are guys running these campaigns in Iowa who know that they've got to organize with captains across the state, but then they've got to turn people out. Now, Trump continues to draw thousands of people at his rallies, and he's going to do that for the next 33 days. I'm sure he's going to have numerous rallies over the next 33 days. So the challenge is to get those people from the rallies into the living rooms and the church basements and the schools to show up and vote. But also in the actual caucus meetings, the captains for the campaigns need to make sure that their guys, their voters, guys and gals, stay on their team in the preference poll.
Well, let me ask you, though, to the point that Donald Trump is trailing in a lot of recent polls, certainly in Iowa, and that he is now not expected to win there, does that give him, I don't know, a cover or pass, but put the pressure certainly on a New Hampshire?
Yeah, look, I have to tell you, Iowa is really not that great at picking GOP nominees. Since 1980, they've only picked 2 out of 6 ultimate GOP nominees in those races where there was not an incumbent president running. And
but
so
it's been far more reliable with Democrats, right?
Yes, 5 out of 8 since 1972 have gone on to be the nominee. So Iowa's not really a great indicator. New Hampshire's a much better indicator. So to your point, yes, Trump could lose. I think it'll be a close race anyway, and I think it won't really ultimately have an impact on a national candidate like Trump or like Cruz in New Hampshire, South Carolina, and Nevada. I think those are going to be very distinct, separate races, and ultimately I don't think Iowa's going to be the determining factor on New Hampshire or South Carolina when you're there the 14th for the debate.
All right, we'll see. We'll watch it very closely. Mark, you're an encyclopedia, my friend. I appreciate it. Mark Serrano.